Hi, I'm Justin Maki. I am a flirtatious jazz pop artist out of London, Ontario. I'm also a producer and a corporate musician. I have been doing music, I suppose, since the age of 11, so 17 years. It all started when my mother enrolled me in a rock school named Studio Arts in St. Thomas, Ontario. I started playing in bands, taking lessons in guitar and vocals, and I've just been doing music since. I have been doing music in a professional capacity since 2012 and full-time since 2020. What got me into music, I would have to credit my mother for that. Music was a very important part of her life growing up. And just the way that her life unfolded, she didn't really have the opportunity to pursue it as vigorously as I am. And that was always her passion and always her goal. So she wanted to make sure that I had that opportunity for myself if I wanted it. And after she introduced me to enough musical environments, I was pretty sure that it was something that I wanted to pursue. So. Yes, well, music is a very risky venture in a lot of ways. But with risk comes reward, potential reward. And I like to focus on the beauty and the achievement that can take place, as opposed to the potential tragedy that could occur. And that's worked well for me so far. And I just love music so much, I simply could not imagine doing anything else. So I guess it's in a way, you could call it intestinal fortitude. But I love music, and like I said, I couldn't imagine doing anything else. Sure, so New Flame is an album that has been in the works for 3 years in the studio. It's been in the works for 6 years from if you count all the years that I was writing the music. So it's been a very long time coming, and obviously the pandemic came into play, which impeded my ability to get in the studio with my producer or producers and wrap up the album a little bit sooner. But effectively, New Flame is a concept album that touches on the different stages of a romantic relationship, from, first initial spark to when a relationship eventually crumbles and you move on. So, but it very much is in the flirtatious jazz pop vein. There are a few deviations, but it's fun, very dynamic, and I love it. I think you'll love it too. My bad. Some days. This was a very fun music video. Oh my goodness. So I worked with Brad Spencer of Brad Beard Studios in London, Ontario on this music video. He is an excellent photographer, videographer, multimedia guy. And we conceptualized the music video a few months ago. And we just wanted to keep it super fun, super light. The track itself is short and sweet. It's very playful, almost sarcastic at points. The words that I use in it are slightly ridiculous, so I wanted the music video to reflect that as well. It also has sort of a muzak type sound to it. So we wanted to incorporate an elevator somehow, and I think we did that very skillfully. So I'd love for you to check it out. It's available on YouTube. Now it's called Some Days. So New Flame can be found on all streaming and downloading platforms. It's available, as such on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, etc. Also on Bandcamp. And if you have trouble in any way listening to the album, just send me a DM. Let me know. I'll help you out. That's a good question. I would say that my top 3 musical inspirations are Alan Stone, Jacob Collier, and Charlie Puth. Alan Stone is just such a soulful guy. He incorporates elements of R&B, soul, funk, jazz so well. And the moment that I heard him, I fell in love with his music, and I wanted to do something similar, which is kind of what inspired me to shift away from what I was doing previously, which was folk pop, to what I call flirtatious jazz pop. I think he's an amazing artist. He's an amazing writer, great singer. I'd love to collaborate with him someday. Jacob Collier is the epitome of a musical prodigy. I mean, he can play probably every instrument that's ever been invented. And his understanding, his deep understanding of music is beyond what even the top 1% of musicians understand. And so I aspire, I don't think I'll ever get to that point, but I aspire to be as good as him one day and have a deep level of understanding of music. And I think what he does so well is he makes complicated music accessible to the common ear. He basically puts a pop veneer on very complicated concepts, and that's what I aim to do with my music, except my music is a little, quite a bit less complicated. But Charlie Puth is, man, I don't even think that needs an explanation. He's just amazing. And I love his pop sensibilities, but he also, knows how to play jazz piano very skillfully. So that's like a combination of those 3 artists is kind of what I aspire to be. Yeah, that's a great question. So I actually connected with a fella by the name of Jesse Patrick over the course of the pandemic. We did a virtual show together, and since then we've just been communicating basically throughout 2020, and he was just urging me to come to Nova Scotia. He just kept driving the point home. He's like, you gotta come to Nova Scotia. You gotta come. It's amazing here. And I was like, okay, I guess I have to go to Nova Scotia. I've never been to the East Coast, might as well. So I don't know what compelled me to stay for a month and a half, but I decided to, I wasn't working. I was just doing music full time. So I was like, let's really see what Nova Scotia has to offer. And so I went in the fall of 2021. And while I was here, because I'm here currently, I achieved 3 main goals that I set out to do. One was, play a bunch of shows, make some money while I was here. Number 2 was attend Nova Scotia Music Week, which I had the privilege to do, and I made some very valuable connections at Nova Scotia Music Week. It was also a ton of fun. And then number 3, I came here to basically record an album with Jesse Patrick and Tyler Daniels of Patrick and Daniels. So we did a live off the floor collaboration record with decorated producer Mark Howard, which was an incredible experience. We went over to Cape Breton. Actually, we took over his one of his cottages, and we just recorded live off the floor at his house, and it was a lovely experience. And that record should be coming out later this year, if not early next year. But yeah, all around, it was a very saturated experience, for sure. Top 3 inspirations outside of music. Well, one I would say is Gary Vee. Gary Vee has touched the heart of many people, young and old, over the last 10 years. And his messages of, like hustle and belief in social media and self-love and patience and different things like that have really spoken to me, because a lot of people who don't believe in your dream will try to veer you off the path of your dream. And Gary Vee just kind of is there to remind you that even though life is short, life is long, and you have time, and it is possible. And so that he's been really inspiring for me. Also Tony Robbins, I would say. I know that's a bit of a cliche example, but Tony Robbins really put some fire under my ass, I would say. During the pandemic, I was going through a bit of a tough time mentally, as a lot of people were, and so I kind of consulted one of his programs, and it really kind of helped to turn me around, and I'm achieving more than I could ever possibly imagine now. So I'm really grateful for his guidance. I'd probably say Elon Musk. I know he's sort of there's a lot of people that hate him, there's a lot of people that love him, but the fact of the matter is that he has achieved things that nobody thought was possible. He has made a tremendous impact on this world, and that's exactly what I want to do with my music. So I would love to open for Alan Stone. I love his music so much, and it would be an honor to write with him. It would be an honor to open for him. I mean, go on tour with him, whatever. Yeah, I would love to. I'd love to open for him for sure. Definitely Alan Stone, but at the risk of repeating myself and being monotonous, I would say I would love to collaborate. Aside from Alan Stone, I mean, I think it'd be cool to collaborate with Charlie Puth as well. D'Angelo. D'Angelo, I would love to collaborate with D'Angelo. His band and his songs are just so in the pocket, but like in an R&B way. And I want to understand how that feels and what that means, Yeah. So there's 3, not just 1. I'd love to perform in Japan. I'd love to go to Japan. I was born in Japan. I know how to speak the language. I think that is a huge opportunity for me to bring my music to Japan, anywhere in Japan, really. I mean, Tokyo, obviously. But I'd love to go back to like my hometown, Fujinomiya. Maybe even like perform on Mount Fuji or something like that. That'd be pretty crazy. But yeah, just like in Japan in general, and I want to see if there's actually a market there for my music, because in my experience, when people who look like me talk like them, they are absolutely in awe, so I already have an advantage. But yeah, so Japan. Something valuable that I learned in the last year I would say to trust in the process. Times are not always going to be amazing. There's going to be ups and downs. I know that I'm going to go, through tough times. I know that I'm going to go through great times. But I just have to trust in the process. There is value in the tough times as well. You grind it out, and maybe you learn extremely valuable lessons during those times that you wouldn't learn in the great times. Because, if things are going great, why would you change anything? Biggest win in the last year? Well, I have set revenue goals for my music business for this year, because I want to do it full time, and I want to do it independently, without support from my family, and I want to prove to all those people, that doubted me growing up, whether it be family members or whether it be friends or even teachers that I've run into post high school, and I just want to prove to them that I can do this, and that it is financially feasible. It might be crazy, but it is financially feasible, and I've already hit those revenue goals this year. So I'm really proud of myself for that, and it's only up from here. In September of 2020, I officially was laid off permanently from my job in car sales. And that was a very traumatic experience for me, because it kind of created this sense of instability and of uncertainty, and how am I going to support myself, especially in the pandemic, so that kind of inspired a series of losses that occurred all around the same time. I lost a romantic relationship and this and that. But to be honest, I'm grateful that all those things happened, because I wouldn't be here if they didn't. So again, trust in the process. But I would say that's probably my biggest loss, yeah. Sure. So I would say first my high school music teacher, Richard Frank. He's an amazing guy. We're friends to this day. We occasionally go on walks in the early morning, and just talk about life. And I'll go out to his shows on occasion. He'll come out to my shows on occasion, and it's just really cool that after he mentored me for such a long time in high school, because I was literally in every musical project, that we can be friends and we can be peers. I think that's super cool. I also want to credit CJ Allen. He is a business partner of mine at the moment. We're in the midst of launching a first-time music festival in St. Thomas, Ontario. It's called the St. Thomas Summer Harvest Festival. And he has been very generous with his time and with his advice. He's been in the music industry for a very long time and seen some great success. So I feel very honored that I can bounce ideas off of him and work with him in a professional capacity. I would say I want to thank Matthew Johnston. Matthew was the primary producer on the record New Flame that I mentioned earlier. That's out now on all platforms. He was, like I said, the primary producer on the record. He produced 7 out of the 10 tracks. And he really helped me to get out of my head in the studio. He helped me to open my mind about singing, about how a track should be produced. And as a result, the tracks turned out beautifully. And I wouldn't, yeah, the album would not be the same without his genius. So I would say I want to credit Matthew Johnston for being a really good mentor to me over the years. I'm most proud of not necessarily any of the awards that I've received or recognition or anything like that, which I'm very grateful for. But what I'm most proud of, I would say, is the fact that now I can put myself in a position to use my passion for music to inspire joy in others. And every time I perform, I see that happening. And I think it's so beautiful that I'm at a point in my career now where I can initiate the collision of my passion and other people's joy. And that is why I do this. I want to make an impact in people's lives, whether small or large. Because I know that music, though it's very difficult to evaluate, has value. And I want to be able to deliver that value to people. So I'm very proud that I do that on a consistent basis. That's a deep one. What am I most afraid of? I would say two things. I'm most afraid of being poor. Why did I go into music? I don't know, you tell me. You know, that does definitely terrify me. The thought of just not having the resources to have a good life, you know. But I am determined to make it work, and that is half the battle. The other thing I would say is I'm afraid of getting to the end of my life and regretting that I didn't give it my all. You know, that I let fear. I know this question is about fear, but I'm afraid that I'll get to the end of my life and I'll regret that I let fear hold me back from taking the risks that would ultimately make me feel the most fulfilled. All right, well, I won't name the producer, but there was this one time where you know, I was recording this record, and the producer had some very interesting things to say for her. First off, they said that they didn't like my guitar. They didn't like my guitar. So he basically at first refused to record it. So I had to use vintage guitars instead, which were set up not to my liking. And then also, I asked this producer about compression and whether he was using compression. Because I have a bit of studio background, you know, taking some courses in university about production, so I have a baseline level of knowledge. And so I asked this producer what compressor he was using, or to what extent he was going to be applying compression, and he was like, "What's a compressor?" And I'm like, "You're joking, right?" And he's like, "No, what's a compressor?" And I'm like, "Okay. You're a professional, so I'm not gonna question you. You have your way of doing things. Let's see how it turns out." But that was very interesting to me because compression is basically industry standard. So I was just taken aback by that for sure. Now, that might not mean anything to some of you, watching or listening. But let's just say I was dumbfounded to hear that. That's all. Okay. All right. I have two stories. The first story is when I was just learning classical guitar, when I was a young teen. Not young teen, I was probably 18. And I had just started learning classical guitar. Maybe it was 1 or 2 years into it. And I was asked to perform at this awards ceremony in St. Thomas, Ontario, at this building. And so I went up and I was doing my performance. It was going well. And then all of a sudden, I completely blanked. So I was doing this classical guitar piece, and then I completely blanked it right in the middle. And so there was literally a 30-second pause. There was a 30-second pause where there was no sound. The whole building was silent. And my vocal coach at the time was in the audience, and she let out a very loud laugh about 20 seconds in. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter, and it has had no impact on my music career. However, that being said, that was a very traumatic experience for me. Because to be in front of all those people and then literally forget what I was supposed to play, that was crazy. And then after the 30 seconds was up, I was like, I don't know what happened, but it just came back to me, and then I got back into the piece. So I'm just gonna, in hindsight, pretending that I never told you this, I'm just gonna call it a hyper dramatic pause. And we'll just leave it at that. The second experience, I was playing in Toronto at this venue for Halloween. I won't name the venue, but it wasn't on, I think it was on Halloween, but Halloween that year was on a weeknight. I think it was like a Tuesday or a Wednesday or something like that. And, we promoted the heck out of it. And there was 3 bands on the bill, us included, and basically nobody showed up. There was probably like 10 people there, and the capacity of the room was probably 150. So it looked very empty. And the other bands did not bring literally anybody, even though they're from Toronto. So anybody that was there effectively was brought by my band. And on top of that, it was Halloween, so I was wearing a costume. You might be familiar with Blades of Glory, the movie, the figure skating movie with Will Ferrell. So I was wearing the costume of his partner, the blonde guy. So literally just like spandex, it left nothing up to the imagination. You could see every inch of me. And let's just say that was a poor performance on my entire band. So not only did nobody showed up, we played poorly, we got paid basically nothing as a result of nobody showing up. And I played this humiliating set in this spandex, in this leotard, basically. Okay? So that was not a fun night, to say the least. But you know, you move on, right? You have those moments, you live, you learn. But those I would say qualify as disastrous in the live performance canon of my experience. A song called Shooting Stars by a band named Bag Raiders. It's like this EDM song. You should check it out. You probably have heard it, actually. Like the anyway, it's like super catchy, super hooky, and I just like feel like dancing to it every time. You know, and just in essence, like have a planned day, like have a day planned out meticulously, and then just crush every single one of the tasks. It's a little bit crazy, but that is my ideal day. It does, and hopefully those tasks are enjoyable to do. You know, it's like, oh, recording this part, or playing this show, or and I gotta get a gym session in there, of course. Gotta stay healthy, you know, if I want to go at the pace that I'm wanting to go. But yeah, just like planned out day, knock out all the tasks, nothing's left behind, and you just feel accomplished. That's an ideal day. Yes, a lot of people have asked me this question. So, a couple reasons. A synonym for flirtatious is playful. I think that my music is very playful. It sort of dabbles in elements of jazz, R&B, soul, and funk, but in sort of a humorous and playful and lilty type way. I used the term flirtatious because it piques interest. Whenever I tell somebody that I play flirtatious jazz pop, they are instantly intrigued. They're instantly intrigued, which means that they're more likely to actually go check out my music, as opposed to if I just said, oh, I play rock. It's like, okay, well, then they have presumptions about what that is, and then they may or may not check out the music. But for my music, it's like they're just very, if I say that, they're just very curious. And hopefully that curiosity is so strong that they actually go check out the music. I love to work out. I love to uphold a healthy lifestyle, or as healthy as I can be. I love skiing. I love surfing. Those are definitely a few of my passions. I love cooking as well. I love cooking a lot. I don't always have time to do it, but I do really enjoy cooking. And I enjoy the sort of cooking specifically where I'm given random ingredients and then I have to put something together. And just based on my intuition, hopefully it turns out well. And over the past few years, what I've been doing is I've been seeing what's in my pantry, seeing what's in my fridge, and then just making something based on what's there, and just letting my intuition and gut guide me. And if something is very good, then I write down the recipe. And so I'm just collecting these like very good recipes. And eventually, maybe when like I'm 35 or 40, I'll have like a strong collection of very good recipes, and I'll just make a recipe book. and it'll be called Flirtatious Food Items. No, I'm just joking. Well, that's a really great question. Tough question. Funny because I wrote up the question myself, but prospective listener. I think that the average listener, I think that they will enjoy the music because it has a good beat. A lot of them have like they are rhythmically enticing. They also every single one of my songs, I would say personally, and what I've heard from people that listen to my music, are quite hooky. They have like a good hook to them, not only in the vocal melody but also in the instrument like in the rest of the arrangement. So some of the instruments, like whether they be guitar or bass, like there's hooky elements in the entire arrangement, including the vocals. So I like to make sure that my music has a degree of pop appeal, so that it appeals not only to the average listener, but there are underlying levels of complexity to my music, so that not only does it appeal to the average listener, but it appeals to musicians as well. So my philosophy in writing music is simplicity with underlying complexity, so that it's accessible, but it's also interesting. It will stay with you. You keep discovering things as you continue to listen to the music. So for all of those reasons, I think a prospective listener would enjoy my music. I'd like to say thank you so much for listening, for coming out to shows, for buying merch, for sharing my content, sharing my music with people that you love most. I cannot possibly do this without you. The intersection of art and commerce is very messy. It's very complicated, and it's impossible for me to make a living from my passion, from my art, without you. And we're in the process of making that happen together. So thank you so much for everything that you do. In the future, I have a couple of cool things lined up. I have some cool shows, specifically in London, Ontario. I'm playing at Home County Folk Festival, or Home County Music and Arts Festival in Victoria Park, July 16th. I'm also playing in Victoria Park in London, Ontario with my band. We're headlining for Pride Fest on Friday night, July 22nd. I have some other cool festival gigs lined up throughout the summer that you can come see me at that are all over the southwestern Ontario region. So check out my website for tour dates. Beyond that, I am working on launching the second album for this year with Patrick and Daniel. So that's the collaboration record that we worked on in Cape Breton with Mark Howard. So that is slated to be dropped at the end of the year, but we want to make sure that we do it well. So if it takes more time, then it takes more time. So that's coming up. Beyond that, Kat is sort of out of the bag, so I should say that a team of playwrights and I are in the process of creating a musical based on New Flame, the album. So that is set to launch in November of 2023. And we're really, really excited about that. We've been working on that for over a year now. So watch out for that. Otherwise, follow me at Justin Maki Music on all social media platforms. Last name spelled M-A-K-I, just like the sushi roll. And that way you can keep up to date with where I'm at and what I'm doing out there in the real world. Thanks so much for watching.